But the other thing I also try and do is get out. Look, I'm not a regular walker. I try to, in all of my spare time, I am also the event director for our local park run event. So, and it's only a couple of kilometres from home. So every Saturday morning I toddle up there. Well, I shouldn't say every Saturday morning. Most Saturday mornings I toddle up there and we'll make sure that the event runs as it needs to. So sometimes that might mean that I'm the head honcho for making sure all the volunteers are doing what they need to do. Sometimes I've got enough volunteers that I can actually get out on course and do the 5Ks myself, which is amazing. It does have a monster of a hill, which you go down to start with and then back up again. As you're going down, you're like, oh, I'm not going to look forward to coming back up this. But it's something I enjoy doing. It's a beautiful park to walk in. And it also helps to encourage other people to get out there and do things that are probably beyond what they normally would do. You know, I appreciate that there are a lot of people with lipedema who can't walk 5 kilometres anymore because their mobility is that impaired. But from and before my surgery, I really struggled, especially up that hill. The lead in my legs was monstrous. But just encouraging people to get out there. It's called Park Run, but honestly, we have just as many walkers every week as we do runners and joggers. And that's really nice to see as well, getting people out there. They're not fast. And I'll be honest, my 82-year-old dad, almost 82-year-old dad, is sort of, he goes out to the turnaround point and sets up the course every Saturday morning. And he's the one to come back at the very end. And let's face it, he ain't going to be Speedy Gonzalez anymore. So I always say to people, just get out there. Do what you can. If you can only walk 200 meters at the moment, walk that 200 meters because you don't realize how much your mobility will decline if you don't use it. And I know part of my mobility challenge before I had my surgeries was actually the bulk of the tissue that was behind my knee. So I couldn't actually bend my leg enough to get up like quite a high step. My knee went to sort of not much more than 90 degrees just because of the sheer volume of tissue behind it. But I could still walk along the flat. And so, yeah, from that perspective, it's just continue to do what you can while you still can. Use it or lose it is the key, as hard as that is. So the other really important conservative measure, going back to your question, because that was a really long-winded answer, it still is a long-winded answer, is the thing that so many people, I think, forget about. And I think even some of the healthcare practitioners that we talk to don't prioritise enough. And that is taking care of my mental health. You know, we've talked about it already before with some of my other diagnoses. But you know what? This is such a roller coaster ride. There are some days that I just am so down about it might not even be just about my lipedema. It might be something else. But knowing that I've got people around to help pick me up when stuff's not going well. So I'm talking there, people in my friendship group. And I am really lucky to have formed some great friendships with people who have lipedema as well. So we can just sit there going, oh God, my legs are shit. They're so heavy. They're just rubbish today. I'm just not dealing with it. And that we can, instead of going and not really understanding, it'll be get your compression on. Go vibrate for a bit. We know it's crap. What's one thing that you can do to try and make it a little less crap today? And people who have actually they've got that understanding. And then obviously having the actual qualified professionals in my corner that I can go to when I need to as well. It's not cheap. Let's face it, lipedema is not a cheap condition. But I've seen people, especially through the surgical, I hate using the word journey. Is there another word we can use for journey?
Quest?
Anyway. Yeah. The
Right,
surgical.
so much more fun and
Yeah.
when you say quest.
Exactly. It's like the surgical sojourn. They really struggle because they don't appreciate that it's not just a physical healing. There's a mental healing that has to happen as well. And I've chatted to a lot of people, pre and during and then post surgery, sort of sharing what some of my experiences have been, some of the things I've done to help both physically and mentally heal. And I know I completely appreciate that everybody is different. Everybody's coming from a different life experience as well. But yeah, there is a real need to have that support team in place, not only for the physical, but also for that all important, how are you doing? And not just accepting that the first reply may be a glib, oh yeah, I'm fine. No, but how are you really? Because it is a hard slog. We've got at least one chronic health condition that impacts us in different ways in our life. For a lot of people with lipedema, they have other chronic health conditions as well. And lipedema might be the least impactful. They may be dealing with a whole load of other things as well. And yeah, having that team around you. Who would have thought lipedema would be a team sport, hey?
I know, right?
But it's so important. It really is. I've actually got 3 different MLD therapists that I use depending on, the importance of, for instance, Lucy's really booked out, so I'll have an appointment with her every few months just because, she doesn't just do the MLD for me. She does a huge amount else and helps to sort of manage my treatment plan, so to speak, and my pre and post surgery therapies. But then there's also a great MLD therapist that's only 5 minutes, or not even 5 minutes drive from here. She focuses solely on doing that MLD for me. So it depends on what I need. It depends on how quickly I want to get in to see somebody. And then if I need something that's near where I work a couple of days a week in the office, then I've got Maria down there as well. So it's not just a case of going, oh, I've got my one and that's my person. You go, well, and let's face it, all 3 of those ladies know about the others. We're in an open relationship. It's fine. And I actually spoke about it during the session at last year's conference, that when Shelley and I were both on stage at the same time in different rooms. I think, actually, no, Shelley, yours might have finished by the time we were doing the surgery Ask Me Anything panel.
Yeah, Shelley
and
was
I was
on when you were doing the fashion parade.
Fashion parade, that's right. Yeah. So yeah, I went from clowning around in different clothes to then taking most of my clothes off and being on stage in my underwear, which most people would find really confronting. I'm like, oh, it's no different to me being in my bikini at the pool, honestly. It doesn't really worry me. But I made the point then, it's even just the importance of having your team, whether it's just conservative treatment, whether it's surgery. I even count women's nurses and office staff amongst that team, because they're also the ones that help me make sure that I've got everything on track. They are the support network. They're the ones who are on the phone. They're the ones who are checking in, being like, okay, so you've got this coming up. Where are we at? Have you got everything you need? Have you booked this? Have you organised that? And that's so important as well. I sometimes will have acupuncture after my surgery to just try and help that healing process and things like that. They're part of the team. My podiatrist is part of my team. My GP, who didn't know about lipedema until I told her about lipedema, and she looked it up on their, I call it Google for doctors. And she looked at the symptoms and she said, well, of course that's you, but I've never heard of this. And so she is fairly rapidly getting an education in lipedema as well. But she's part of that team. She's being educated about it at the same time, but she's also there going, how can I help you? What do you need from me? Let's look at the rest of your overall health and see what we can do to make sure that while you're managing your lipedema in the way you are, that the rest of you is still healthy. We still have arguments about cholesterol because of my keto and whatnot. And she's like, oh, your cholesterol's. I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah. Next.
I don't care. But I'm one of the few
people now, the whole cholesterol thing.
Oh,
so
yeah, and it's a genetic thing for my family. Dad's line has always had high cholesterol. But so I'm also one of the less common, people with lipedema who has high blood pressure. So a lot of people have low or pretty decent blood pressure. And I'm actually medicated for high blood pressure. Again, it's a genetic thing, so that's a joy. But yeah, it's one of those things that she's like, okay, well, let's make sure that everything else gets managed along the way, and then when something comes up that we need to navigate with my lipedema, then we do. Yeah, so we've got our conference coming up in just a few months, which is really exciting. We've got a really amazing committee of board members who are putting together a pretty spectacular event. This year we opted to have the conference in Canberra. It was a bit of a way for us to, I suppose, symbolically take it to the top, take it to the capital, to be like, we're not going to just sit here quietly and wait for you guys and girls, but mainly guys, let's be honest, to get around to supporting people with lipedema. So we are at Hotel Realm in Canberra from the 22nd to the 24th of August. And our conference theme this year is louder than ever, because we are growing our voices. Our community is growing significantly. The word is getting out there about lipedema. We are always wanting to get more support for our community. And so, it is that whole thing. Was it the John Farnham song, we're not going to sit in silence. We will use our voices to continue to advocate for ourselves, for the community as a whole, and for those who can't advocate for themselves. We are once again having a virtual attendance option. That's really important for us, because we appreciate that there are some people who can't travel, whether that's for physical, financial, or other limitations. It means that people can still get all of the information that they need. Yes, obviously, in person, you get the opportunity to connect and make some new friendships in person. But this year we've also got through it's a new virtual conference platform. We've got the capacity for people to actually jump into little chat rooms and whatnot, like during the morning tea and lunch and afternoon tea breaks. Even the virtual attendees will be able to connect with people and get to know each other and potentially form some of those lifelong friendships as well. So we obviously have got our launch party on the Friday night, which sort of kicks things off for our patient delegates, and then our gala dinner on the Saturday night, which is always a whole lot of fun. The sessions on the Friday are targeted at medical and health professionals, researchers. So they're coming at things from a more technical background. While we don't check everybody's qualifications, so to speak, there is an expectation that those attending will understand the official medical language, is probably the easier way to put it. And those attendees on the Friday typically then spend Saturday and Sunday attending along with the patients and family members and supporters, who then come in for sort of the Friday night launch party, Saturday sessions and Sunday sessions. So yeah, all of those will be both live streamed and then recorded, so you can do play on demand for 3 months after the event. So the conference itself will be in August, and then content will be available through till, what does that make it, September, October, November, so that everyone can rewatch things. So yeah, there'll be some times when everybody's all in the room together, as with previous conferences, and then we will break out into smaller rooms depending on what session floats your boat. You can pop into that one live, and then obviously you get to watch the other ones on playback as well. So it'll be really exciting. The venue itself is extraordinary, and there's sort of 3 different accommodation options that we've arranged discount accommodation with, that are all in the one area. So there's sort of the main hotel in the middle, and then there's one of their sister hotels across the road on the other side, and one on the other side. So they're basically all right in that same precinct. So if you want to pop back to your room during the day, you can as well. Our fashion parade is back, which is really exciting. We have actually so last year's fashion parade was a bit of a test run, realistically, and I can probably say this more comfortably now than before the conference. You know, we didn't know if we would pull it off, so that was one of the reasons that we didn't make it sort of one of the main plenary sessions. Was we didn't want to find that we had a gap in the program if it didn't happen. Both, it was untested. I mean, and I said it when I was on stage. I was like, I've never run a fashion parade before. I've got no idea what I'm doing. I'm somebody who will be in, you know, khaki pants and a t-shirt for comfort. I don't think I own a pair of high heels anymore. That just doesn't happen. And so this year, you know, on the basis that last year was so successful and we had so much feedback from attendees last year saying, can you make it part of the main program? Like, that was so much fun. We are asking people when they're registering for the conference if they would like to be considered as a model in the fashion parade. And that fashion parade is actually happening as part of the launch party on the Friday night. So we're
that'll be so fun.
Starting the weekend with a real bang, and I'm so excited. I'm so excited. So yeah, the key is if you'd like to participate, then get your in-person conference ticket. We probably won't be able to live stream the fashion parade for those who are attending virtually, but it will be recorded and we'll upload it as quickly as we can so that you can still see everything. It probably won't be live just because the limitations of actually doing that recording. Yeah, I'm not sure that we can make it happen. If we can, we will. So yeah, and we've got some amazing brands that we're hitting up for sponsorship as we speak. You know, we had some great support from a couple of brands last year in particular who donated a significant amount of garments, and some other smaller brands that donated just a couple as well. So yeah, we're looking forward to seeing who puts their hand up. I know we've got a couple of returnees from last year who loved their fashion show experience, and yeah, with any luck, we'll have some amazing brands for us all to get our gear on and strut our stuff on. I don't know what colour carpet we'll have this year. We had sparkly pink last year. We'll have to think of something different this year, Shell. But yeah, for those attending in person, what I will say is get your bright colours ready. We're talking louder than ever. I'm taking that to mean loud as in colour. I already have my gala dinner outfit. It's not necessarily loud bright, but it's loud.
It attracts attention.
Yes. I will be my usual shrinking violet in the corner, which is really funny because, you know, so much of life I am actually an introvert. So it is funny that as soon as I get amongst my people in the Lipedema space, I'm just like, oh yeah, this is it. This is me, you know. It'll be a really fun weekend. I'm really looking forward to it. Our speaker abstracts are actually open at the moment. We're getting some really awesome responses coming through from people wanting to talk about a whole range of different topics. And yeah, we're keeping our keynote speaker under wraps at the moment, but we can't wait to announce that very soon as well. So I know. And it must kill you a bit, Shell, to try and keep it a secret from Tiana as well. But if you just sit there going, I know.
And everything. I'm like,
yeah.
Even tell me that the keynote speaker was around.
Yeah. That's just it. She's a vault. I love it. Yeah, so we're really looking forward to putting on an awesome program this year. And one of the things from my perspective, and you know, you can't tell from the way I've talked about it in the podcast so far, is that mental health aspect. You know, we had a couple of sessions on it last year that were exceptionally well received. And I think that's something that we really do need to look at in more depth. And yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Can't wait. It's going to be a good time.
Oh, it's going to be an amazing time.
Booked, it's all happening. Yeah, can't wait.
Yeah, exactly right. And look, Canberra is one of those places that people coming from Sydney, it's only a couple of hours drive, sort of three or so hours drive. From Melbourne, it's a little further, but I look, I'll be honest, when we were signing off on the venue, I drove to Canberra and back in the same day. The day before I had my arm surgery because we were on a bit of a deadline. So it was like, when can we go up this particular week? Because then I'll be off the road for a little bit. And yeah, the way it worked out with with the directors who were coming with me. It was like, oh, can we do it on the Thursday? I'm like, yeah, that's fine. And then all of a sudden it was like, don't you have surgery on Friday? I'm like, yeah, it's all good. That's fine. I'll drive to Canberra and back the same day. Nothing. It's fine. And I had a really great sleep with that anesthetic. Yeah, when I was actually waiting for surgery, I said to them, I was like, oh, can you put me in a trolley? I don't want to sit in the little waiting area bit. Is there a trolley free? Because I need a nap. I'm really tired.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, there's really exciting times ahead. The conference is only one of the things that we've got happening with the board at the moment. We've just come off a really amazing and inspiring strategy weekend recently, where we sort of started to map out what the future looks like for not only the organisation, but where lipedema advocacy will go in the future in Australia, and how we can help that as part of what we do, how we can support our people. Yeah, obviously it's a really interesting time coming up to a federal election as well, because we've done a lot of work with different MPs in different areas. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens there, sort of continue building on relationships, ultimately on both sides of Parliament as well, to try and see what we can do to further the lipedema cause, and improve supports, and just get people to know what it is, that this is a thing. Get it included in medical school syllabus, getting people to actually learn about it. That may take a little bit of time, but in the meantime, we've got, 18 extraordinary women on the board and advisory board who, will sort of almost take it to the streets and say, okay, what first? We've got some more events coming up this year as well. We've connected with an organisation called Health Ed. They do a lot of GP education sessions. I suppose they probably call them something different, and I'm trying to remember what they call them, training updates. So, GPs have to do their certain amount of continual professional development hours each year. And so they, as part of that, they'll often go to these training sessions and conferences and whatnot. And so while we don't have lipedema on the program as education sessions yet, we are attending as part of their exhibition. And so all of the people attending, whether or not they stop by and see us at the exhibition, they will have the medical practitioner's brochure, at least in their goodie bag. And then for those who are interested, and these are sessions that are targeted, they are the women's and children's health update. So these are looking at practitioners who are specifically interested in women's and children's health. So, it's sort of our target market, so to speak. And so we will be able to have more of an in-depth chat with those GPs who will hopefully be able to start looking at lipedema as one of the potential diagnoses when they've got people coming in talking about all the things that many of us spoke to our doctors about. I'm trying to lose weight. This isn't working. They're the same song, second verse that we've all said multiple times to our doctors, and hopefully while they're looking at whether or not they're looking at obesity or other things, if they actually know that lipedema is an actual condition with actual research behind it, and it's not just a made up thing that fat people like to think that they've got an excuse or whatever things we've all heard in the past, hopefully we'll see people getting an earlier diagnosis and then better outcomes in the future.
That is the hope, isn't it? Yay,
Absolute
that's what
fingers
we're all
crossed.
striving for. Being able to get the support you need and knowing about it, like just getting that word out there, that is the key.
It's so true. I mean, look, I said before, it was age 11 when my cousin first asked me about my legs, and I was 40 when I was diagnosed. That's 29 years.
Yeah.
29 years of struggling with yo-yo dieting, with struggling with finding exercise that actually worked for me. So many things that I tried, the hypermobility I have in my knees, ankles and hips, didn't like it very much. So then all of a sudden I've got this weird relationship with exercise in general, this weird relationship with food. Whereas even if I'd been diagnosed in my late teens, it didn't have to be when I was 11, but before I went on my first yo-yo diet, that would have been great. So yeah, if we can help people just get that earlier diagnosis. I mean, yeah, better treatment options and ultimately some way of being able to, I hate to use the word cure because, if something's got a genetic basis, that is not necessarily likely, but we never know what medical advances may happen in the future. But if, they find a way to, switch off or deactivate or somehow alter that gene so that the growth doesn't happen anymore, then that's extraordinary. But at the moment, I would just settle for people being able to be accepted that this is a condition and this is your diagnosis and this is how we can best help you for now.
Yeah, perfect.
That's why I do what I do.
Love it. That's great. Oh my gosh. Yeah, we could just talk to you forever. There's so much, and there's a couple of questions that we
I
didn't
know.
get to
That's
cover.
why
But hopefully we'll have you on again, maybe
next
after
time,
the
mate.
conference.
Next time.
Next time. But we do like to
For
ask
sure.
a question to all of our guests. If you could go back and give your younger self a pep talk, what would you tell her?
It's something that I have been pondering since I listened to the very first episode of this podcast. And I still don't know what I would say, because there is this, I hate the concept of it's not your fault, because that's not to say that other conditions are somebody's fault. But I suppose what I would, if I wanted to try and sum it up, I would sort of say, don't settle, just keep digging. There's something there, and have faith that you're on the right track. Don't accept what they're saying is correct. Don't mistake and when I say the doctors, the GPs, don't mistake their years of medical school with your years of life experience.
Yeah.
What you feel and what you are is valid. You are an amazing person who, regardless of what your body is doing, you've got something to give. And for a long time, I probably didn't believe that about myself. So yeah, I think that the living in a different body is a real challenge for so many people, not just people with lipedema. I've been chatting to some obesity related not-for-profits recently as well, and it's the same. They go through so many similar struggles. And you are different and you are special, and you should embrace that. But at the same time, just don't give up looking for those answers. That's probably as best I can answer it. But yeah, it's a really tricky one.
It's tricky. It is. It is.
Beautifully said. Thank you so much, Meegan. Thank you for your time. And
my pleasure.
Being so
I
candid
could spend
with
hours
us
talking about this.
Yeah, and telling us all the exciting things that are going on. And we'll see you at the Lipedema Australia conference. Can't wait. Anybody who hasn't got their tickets yet, please do. And of course, when you sign up, if you want to be part of the fashion show, please tick that box, because it's going to be a good one.
Yeah, that box will only come up if you say, yes, you are attending the Friday night launch party. Now, that launch party is included in the ticket price, so it's not like there's an extra cost for it, but you won't get the box to ask you about the fashion parade if you tick no for the Friday night. So you've got to say you're coming to the party before you can get frocked up. So
yeah,
early bird tickets are still on sale as well, so you've got time.
Awesome. We'll share a link so people can jump on.
Thank you, Meegan.
That's amazing. Thanks, girls. Talk soon. Bye.
The Lipedema Podcast 2025 is powered by Elegance Lymphatic Care. Lipedema and its symptoms vary from individual to individual. The opinions and advice voiced in this podcast are of a personal nature and used for educational purposes.
Please take away from this podcast what resonates with you, and please see your GP or preferred specialist for diagnosis and healthcare. We are Shell and Tiana from the Lipedema Podcast. Until our next episode, bye for now.